We are live and streaming across the province of Ontario. Welcome to the 2022 FEO Energize virtual conference. Tuesdays and Thursdays in the month of March. 25 plus speakers. Dozens of important topics. Designed to motivate and inspire you to make a triumphant return from COVID. It's time to reconnect, reimagine, and refocus. Let's get energized. This portion of the 2022 FEO Energize Conference is brought to you by the Province of Ontario, Destination Ontario, OLG, and SmartServe Ontario. Please welcome our host for the 2022 FEO Energize virtual conference. It's our CEO, Dave MacNeil.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of our Energize conference. At this time, we'd also like to thank Ann Barker and her team at Ticket Pro for all the amazing support work they do behind the scenes, getting our tickets up and running and helping with the registration for our conference. So Ann Barker and Ticket Pro, thanks a bunch for being a part of our team and helping us out bring this conference to everybody. Well, we're really pleased this morning to have the Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Cultural Industries with us. Lisa MacLeod is the Minister and has been selected to the Ontario Legislature since 2006. Minister MacLeod has previously served as the Minister of Children and Community and Social Services and as the Minister responsible for women's issues, where she addressed the United Nations on human trafficking and as a Canadian delegate. Throughout her career, Minister MacLeod has been an outspoken advocate for mental health, support, and anti-bullying initiatives, as well as suicide and drug preventions. Welcome, Minister MacLeod. We're so happy you're able to join us today.
Thanks very much, Dave. It's great to see you virtually. I can't wait. Hopefully next year we'll have the opportunity, and hopefully I'm still in this portfolio and we'll be together again. And may I say to all of you in the festival and events space in the province of Ontario, thank you for your resilience, your commitment and your dedication to the work that you're doing, to your local communities, and to the people that you support. I always say that we are an economic powerhouse and we're a major societal contributor. You've heard me say it on many occasions. We're part of a spectacular double bottom line in this ministry where we contribute to the cultural fabric of where we live, but we're also key drivers of our local economies. And what I love about this ministry, particularly when we invest in festivals and events, is every dollar we put in, we yield back $21 in return. It goes without saying that the last 2 years, or I should say 2 years this month, but of course we've just eased restrictions, have been extremely difficult with many stops and starts, challenges faced as a result of public health restrictions. You've all heard me say it. We faced a triple threat with these sectors. First, the obvious healthcare crisis. The second, the economic crisis, which shortly ensued, and then of course the societal crisis with folks being very reticent to get back to their old consumer behaviors. And so that's something that the ministry continues to work on is items number 2 and 3 in order to provide both support financially to our institutions and festivals and events in order for them to get back up and running, and so that they not only survive this pandemic but thrive. And then secondly, equipping you all with the latest and greatest information from public health officials, labor officials, and of course data that we've been able to glean from public opinion and polling as a result of that. But I would be remiss if I didn't really acknowledge the fact that the sectors we represent were first hit. They were hit hardest. And just because we're reopened now doesn't necessarily mean there is going to be a full economic recovery. And so we continue to monitor that situation within the ministry and in the broader government. And I can say work is starting to be begun, and just like we started early work in January of 2020 with respect to what we expected to be a SARS-like crisis to ready and prepare the ministry, now the work goes into postmortem and seeing how we responded, what worked, what we could have done better, and how we prepare future governments for a crisis in these sectors. And so we're 100% committed to making sure that if something like this ever occurs again, that Ontario is ready and that these sectors will be ready. And that's why I think that there's 3 items I just wanted to highlight today. As we talk about what recovery looks like and what festivals and events will look like in 2022 and beyond. We remain committed to our $19.5 million festival and event fund. We were able to last year get a one-time bump of $50 million, which we believe yielded about $1 billion in economic activity across the province of Ontario. That will go back to our base funding this year of $19.5 million, and we're looking forward to getting that out to support as many festivals and events that we can across this great province to showcase both our cultural diversity, but also the remarkable talent that we have in the province of Ontario, and which I really think is a perfect intersection of our heritage, sport, tourism, and culture industries. That really is the festivals and events that we have. We also have unveiled a staycation tax credit, and although the first 6 to 8 weeks of this year was very difficult to get people moving, I can say I'm here at Deerhurst this morning in Muskoka. I'll be heading off to Blue Mountain later today. I'm back on tour, and I'm very proud to report that many of our resorts and our hotels are going back to capacity. In fact, last evening I got to see a major meeting, an event take place here at Deerhurst, and that just completely warmed Jesse Hamilton's heart, I'm sure, who's the general manager here and a member of our board of Destination Ontario. So it is good to see that the consumers are coming back and are feeling a level of comfort in order to congregate again, which is absolutely 100% important for the festival event sector. So really highlighting that staycation tax credit with all of your festivals and events and helping us echo that through your third-party organizations is going to be critical and key to educating the population that A, it exists, and B, that they're eligible for it. And finally, one of the things that the ministry has done, and we began this work pre-pandemic, but it's something that we're committed to doing, and we have been having regular meetings since the beginning of this year on better integrating the 18 agencies and attractions that this ministry is responsible for, including our granting agencies. And I know Destination Ontario, which is an agency of our ministry, is on here today, but many of you also have likely been able to access support from OCAF, the Ontario Cultural Attractions Fund, the OAC, the Ontario Arts Council, the Ontario Trillium Foundation, which we call OTF, and of course, Ontario Creates. And so work is being done at the ministry in order to better integrate their work, whether that's marketing, other partnerships that we can leverage, and overall, just seeing how we can best get that Ontario brand up and running and making sure people feel safe to come back to your events, but also to travel to our province. So with that, Dave, I wanted to say thanks again for this wonderful invitation, and I'm happy to take any questions. As you know, I have made the last 2 years a priority of being transparent and accountable to those in the sectors, giving you information as timely as possible, and answering any question that we had answers to, and taking the time to find the answers we didn't have responses to right away. And I want to be able to extend that transparency and accountability today to all of your members as we eye economic recovery and we talk about the challenges ahead, but also, let's be frank, the opportunities. And as I close out, I just wanted to say that many of you brought in new immersive acts, different types of activities that really responded to this COVID crisis, whether that was a drive-in or drive-through theater, whether that was immersive art, as we've seen in Ottawa and Toronto and other places, whether it was Van Gogh or Monet, and hopefully we can continue to build on that type of interactive and immersive type of programming. So happy to take any questions, and really looking forward to hearing from your members, Dave, and thanks again for your resilience.
Thank you, Minister. The first question I have, and you sort of touched on it in your address, and that was the one-time bump last year. I know you're working very hard behind the scenes, but is there hope that there might be another bump to that funding, or going into election year, is that tough to get through?
Well, Dave, you know me, so I've been relentless. I think it's a great thing to do, but I've got a big, broad team that I'm part of, and many competing interests, including making sure that our healthcare system is never left in the situation it was when we assumed office and had to deal with the crisis. All I can say is, we will have a budget coming up, and we are having an election, so that does change the way we are going to be able to administer things, at least for a good month. And so I'll continue to continue to fight, but the realist in me is understanding right now at this very moment, I have $19.5 million in that fund. And so right now we're operating under that assumption that that's what it's going to be. And I wanted just to be honest and clear, but I have to say it was really nice last year to have that extra funding to go out, because the first event I was able to go to with live music was actually Blues Fest in my hometown of Ottawa. And just to see people being able to work for the first time in 18 months. It was 18 months at that time. It was incredible, because you really see what kind of an ecosystem all of you have when you really set your mind to it, and you don't just focus on the act on the stage. You take a moment and you reflect on the number of security guards that you have, the number of parking attendants, the porta potties that you're renting, the AV equipment, the staging, all of those folks that really are behind the scenes but are integral to the success of a world-class production. And so I was quite proud of that. I worked hard to secure that funding, but at this moment, I'm just going to go with the 19.5, and if I get extra, then I think we'll all be excited and relieved.
Thanks very much. We appreciate your support, and we share your sentiment with our suppliers. It's been a long road for all of us, but with our partners that do fencing and staging and PAs and everything, they've been through the brunt of it with us. Things are starting to open up in the province. Tuesday, a lot of the restrictions have been lifted. Do you have any good indication of is this it, do you think? I know we're not looking forward thinking about going back, but for a lot of us in a 6 to 8 week cycle of planning these events and making some financial commitments, is the science team and the cabinet, do we think we're there now and good moving forward?
Yeah, I have to say, through this pandemic, we have worked closely, as you know, with the Chief Medical Officer of Health and the Ministry of Health. Throughout this, they have supported us in providing guidance to the sectors. And at the same time, and I mentioned this last night, so many of the folks on this webinar, but across the province in our sectors, were able to also feed back to the Ministry of Health and provide them with guidance and advice from the sectors. And so we've worked quite closely. And the latest indication that we've got from the Chief Medical Officer of Health is that the Omicron variant is petering out, and that a new lesser variant is there. We continue to meet, or I do at least, as a minister, but also an MPP from the City of Ottawa, weekly with our Chief Medical Officer of Health and with our hospitals. And the numbers are going down, and it does seem that we are in a good position. And as we all know, and we've seen throughout this pandemic, and I believe we're in an endemic now, the summer and the warmer weather allows us a great deal more flexibility. So I'm fairly confident that the worst is behind us, that the reopening that we saw on March the 1st is the one that we're going to we're going to continue to follow on. And as the health minister and the premier have indicated, there may as well be further easing of restrictions with respect to masking. So stay tuned on that. But I feel very confident that that we're moving on, and we're going to get back to that world that we knew. And it might be a little different than what we knew, but I think we're going to be into a position where we're going to be at live events and with lots of people, and making, as I say about this ministry, we're going to be making memories and money.
Thank you, Minister. One of the things that I've learned throughout this on the roundtable throughout the pandemic and everything is, it's been a really good civics lesson on how the different levels of government work. Sometimes it's been good, sometimes it's been frustrating, but we've got a question in our chat, and the question is, some businesses have kept the mandate in place. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions for them? And I know it goes to our municipal partners too, because I know some municipalities are holding firm on some of the restrictions and are coming in and out at different times.
Yeah, I think that there's a number of people that have various levels of comfort right now, and there are some people in the population that don't want the vaccine mandate. Others do. So it really is the choice of that business or that organization. It's something that we're talking about even within my own ministry with 18 agencies and attractions that we're responsible for. I was at the AGO and the McMichael Galleries this past week. They've decided to get rid of that mandate, while Ontario Place, I believe, is going to keep it. So, it really is the choice of the entity or the business or the organization, and the level of comfort that they have for both their employees and their patrons. So, I think that that level of choice and freedom is something that that we now have, and I'm just thankful we're in a place that we can have that choice, because it's really important that we allow that to those organizations. I can say that the ministry has engaged Ipsos again, and you'll recall early in the pandemic and throughout, we have been monitoring consumer behaviors, and so just to see, so we can best supply you with information. So we're doing that again, and I'm not quite sure when that information will be coming back to us, but it certainly does help guide our conversations with the small and large business owners, as well as festivals and events and not-for-profit organizations that we're responsible for.
And we've got a couple questions on the line from Gilbert Estefan. Thank you for your leadership, Minister MacLeod, and for your continued support of festival and event sector. What is the province of Ontario doing for workforce development, specifically skills development and training pathways post-pandemic? This helps to shape the future of our events sector.
I meet with the Minister of Labour almost every week. I've had him on so many of our roundtables, our ministerial advisory committees, to give him a sense of what's happening in the field here in the tourism and hospitality sector, the entertainment and arts and culture industries, as well as the sports and recreation area. Because it's important to recognize that that we do have a skilled labor shortage right now. One of the things that I've started framing with the Minister of Labour, but also within my ministry, is, on one hand we're talking skilled labor, on another hand we talk about academic training, but really when you look at these sectors, it's a craft. It's a certain type of individual that can make a person feel like $1 million when they walk into a hotel. It's a certain type of person that gives you an experience of a lifetime when you go to a water park or to a festival and event. And so that labor problem that we've got, the challenge exists, but there is an opportunity for us to really advance that. And so these are conversations that I have pretty much on a daily basis. As I said, I'm at Deerhurst this morning and very excited to be out and about. But when you're talking at a resort like this and the labor shortage they have, and then, I was at an event last night, similarly, everybody in the various sectors that I represent are struggling as well. So we continue to work with them. There are a number of programs the Ministry of Labour has come out with. I would really heavily encourage you to access any of those for skills development and job creation opportunities. And the Ministry of Labour has also been very helpful in terms of the health and safety of our venues in order to inspire confidence with patrons.
Thank you, Minister. We've got another question from Rob Moraris, and he says, good morning, Minister. Can you comment on how the workforce changes that have happened as a result of COVID could provide opportunities or challenges for festivals and events in Ontario, i.e. shifts to smaller rural areas, working from home, hybrid work career, engaging a changing workforce to support our activities?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, from the consumer side, I think that there is a lot of built up demand, and I think people are going to want to go out and support the unique festivals and events we have in the province of Ontario. I think that when you see what's happening around the world right now in Ukraine, I think people will want to come together in a peaceful way. And I think that there's so many opportunities for us as Ontarians to showcase the fact that we are the world in one province, the fact that we are a diverse people, the fact that we are a welcoming people. And so I think on that side, we're going to be just fine. I think the challenge, and I think you're right, has been almost 2 years of various government programs that, you know, were built at one point with the great intention of protecting people's paychecks so that they could work from home or stay at home rather than be unsafe. But at the same time, perhaps maybe we're extended to de-incentivize people from getting back into the workforce. I think there have been also the challenges, you're right, of hollowing out major urban centers like Ottawa and Toronto, because that's where our major public service organizations are. Our government has mandated that that our government workers will be back into Toronto so that we can start filling up those restaurants and the hospitality sector again. My hope is that the federal government does the same. But I do think that when you talk about the rural economy, you are right. I think there's a tremendous opportunity in communities like Muskoka, Niagara, Blue Mountain, Collingwood, Thousand Islands, anywhere on the Great Lakes, really, because we're starting to see Great Lakes cruising take place, that there are going to be opportunities that we haven't seen before. And it really is, you know, Wayne Gretzky famously said it, you don't go where the puck is, you go to where the puck is going. And so I think that we really collectively should have a conversation of where that puck's going to go, and then figure out how we can best address the issues with respect to labor. And the labor crisis is not just the skills development piece. It's not just the shortage. There are other two key components, particularly when they're in rural communities, and that is accessible housing that people can afford to buy or rent. And the other piece is transportation and transit and getting to those locations. And that's something that comes up when you're in signature destinations like I'm in right now. It's very, very consistent.
Thank you, Minister. We've got two final questions. The next one comes from Vittold. The question is, Minister MacLeod, how will the government look to attract people back to events and try to regain consumer confidence and ensure that events will be safe and even safer than they were before?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it will be the independent organization that is putting on the festival and events. But I can say I have a full confidence. I'm on tour this week because I'm confident it is safe to travel around Ontario and it's safe for me to gather again with other people. And so I think I have to lead by example. I think the staycation tax credit informs the population of Ontario that the government is committed to seeing people travel again and going to festivals and events, staying in hotels, going to restaurants, and taking in major cultural and tourism attractions. So, you know, when we start to ramp that up at the appropriate time, that will allow people to want to be part of it. And again, we're going to continue to commit through our 5 granting agencies, as well as through Reconnect, our commitment to invest in festivals and events across the province of Ontario. I'm really excited about this summer. I think that we're going to see crowds like we've not seen before. I think we're going to see artists who have been creating for the past 2 years come out, whether that's in performance arts, music, anything else. in order to be coming back. And one thing I'm really excited about is Toronto Pride this year. They're competing with New York and Los Angeles, but I think that you're going to start to see some of the smaller prides across Ontario, really gather some of that momentum. And I think you're going to start to see, and that's just one example, let alone people who have been starved to attend, live music and go out and listen to a music festival. And I'll close on this one because it's really important. And I didn't mention it in my remarks, but I should have. So many of you deal with live music. And one of the things we're working on with the Canadian Live Music Association and Music Canada is a Music Cities approach. We invested $500,000, and I say invest because everyone thinks that the ministry is about handouts, and it's not, because every time we put $1 in, we get way more back. And Music Cities is a perfect example of how we trust the industry to do the work that requires to be done, so that all levels of government can buy into a great approach. And so what we've asked them to do is work with music sectors across the province and festivals and events, and see how we can best build out more music cities in smaller venues through events across the province, and really identify these cities. And so I believe they have 8 now. London obviously is a World UNESCO Music City. Last week, Niagara Falls just signed on. They're very excited, and this is an opportunity for Canadian Live Music and Music Canada to come to the government and say, this is what we need from the province. It might be funding, it might be about labor, it might be about the Music Investment Fund, or this is what we need from the municipalities. This is how you need to deal with permitting. This is how you need to deal with bylaws for noise and parking and how to support these venues. So I really think that there's an amazing space there. And through this pandemic, in a weird way, the crisis provided us the opportunity to say, okay, this is something Ontario wants to do right now, because we can't, be out there promoting these events. Let's take the time to plan so that next year we're going to be in a position to have dots all across Ontario that signify cities as large as Toronto and communities as small as Terrence Bay could be on that music city spectrum.
Thank you, Minister. Our final question, it comes from Kyle Sipkins, and it's, many suppliers have not been unable to access any grants or supports to date. Will the province be adopting the current business relief grant eligibility or introducing any new grants to help support these suppliers who've fallen in the gaps and reopen our dynamic festival and event industry?
Yeah, great question. Thanks very much for that. They may be eligible, I'm not sure, for the Ontario Tourism Recovery Program, which will be rolled out later this month. But right now, the business supports, as they stand, are the business supports. The finance minister may have more to say in the budget on how he wants to, how he envisages us shaping the economy as we move forward and supporting those events. But I think the best way in order to support those businesses really is to get back to normal, start to reopen, build confidence into the sector again, and into gatherings, and really restart the economy that way. That's where we're at the moment. But we have had an unprecedented level of supports in this ministry over the pandemic. I think well over $1 billion, and much of the training money from labor was directed to our sectors, in addition to much of the money that came from the MedCat job creation and trade ministry were focused on the small businesses that we support. And then, of course, over and above that, the not-for-profits saw an enhancement of $105 million through the Trillium Foundation, and we were able to invest an additional $35 million into our arts and cultural organizations over the past 2 years. So we've done everything we could, and as I say, now the work begins of looking back and seeing what worked and what would need to be refined for any future government that that has to deal with something like this, and God willing they don't.
And Minister, we just have a follow-up on your Music City. Some of the municipalities are asking, how do you apply for that? Is there a...
Yeah, Canadian Live Music has a website, and they're working diligently on that right now. I don't know if Derek in my office, I see him in the back end here, can provide a link in the chat on how to get to that website, but it certainly is worthwhile in working with Aaron Benjamin at Canadian Live Music to best see how you could fit into that. I'll tell you a funny story, because I was in Niagara last week and was meeting with the mayor and the head of tourism there, as well as one of the general managers at the hotel. And we were just having a general conversation, and they wanted to know how they got the orange dot. And I said, I don't know what that orange dot is. And they said, but it's on the website. And I said, it's not my website. And then I realized when I looked at the website, okay, yeah, I'm funding it. It was part of the Music Cities thing. And there's an orange dot across Ontario for every community that has a Music City designation. So anyway, we talked, we set up a meeting with the City of Niagara Falls, as well as Canadian Live Music, and voila, they're getting that orange dot. So I'm excited that the orange dot is going to be expanded, and I hope everybody on this call starts working with their municipality in order to put a resolution through council to figure out how you can best incubate talent and really fill out Ontario as not just a place where Music Cities exist, but is the music province of Canada.
Minister, we thank you very much for joining us today. We know you're on a tight schedule, but can you just give us a message of hope and inspiration as we head into our busy season?
100%. Every single person that is on this webinar today went through a very traumatic experience on March the 12th to the 17th, 2020. You saw your hope and your aspirations for a summer season sink, and you got through it. You made it through, and you did it with each other. You did it by learning from other jurisdictions. You did it from scaling back, or our favorite word outside of Are We on Mute, to pivot during this entire pandemic. And if you can get through the past 2 years and still be standing, you are going to thrive in this post-pandemic environment. You've all been very creative. I've always said I'm the fortunate one in Ontario and Canada, because I get to work with the most creative people in every sector that I represent. And time again, each one of you have just blown my mind away at the different things you'll do. I think of my friend Ali Shaffa out in Ottawa, and Ali figuring out how to take large fields and turn them into drive-in theaters, or turn them into immersive drive-through events, and really take what he never probably would have thought he would do 3 years ago into a brand new type of product and experience. And by the way, those experiences and those products were needed, and they were necessary, and they were incredible. And each and every one of you have done that, and I'm very proud of that. And the second thing I'm going to close on this is the diversity. I saw the East India Festival from Ottawa is on here today, an event I've been going to forever. I mentioned the Ukrainian festival, the Lebanese festivals, Caravana, Pride. My goodness, think of all of the diversity that we have. You don't have to travel around the world to experience it. You just have to stay in Ontario. You can go to Scotland and Glengarry Highland Games on one part of the day, and then come into the city of Ottawa and go to a Jamaican festival. Where else in the world? Where else in the world can you do that? But right here at home. So I want you to keep doing that. I'm so proud of you. The most biggest blessing I've had in my 16-year career as a politician has been serving you around the cabinet table and in the legislature as your minister. And I'll never forget this experience, because I saw the most remarkable people in this country. I always say I have the best leadership team, I have the best stakeholders, I have the smartest, most creative, heart-filled, warm people, and you're going to do great. You're really going to do great this year. And I hope I'm back as your minister. And if I'm not, I hope you still invite me to all of your events, because I'll be there.
Minister MacLeod, I can't think of a better cheerleader for our industry. Thanks for everything you and your team, and I know you've got a great team behind you that is very supportive of us all. We really thank you for everything you've done and everything you're going to do for us moving forward, and thanks for carving out this chunk of time with us today.
I would never have missed it, Dave. You look after yourself. Everyone, you stay safe, and give them heck this summer.
Thank you again, Minister MacLeod. We'd also like at this time to recognize one of our sponsors, OLG, for their support, and we'd like to share this message of welcome from OLG.
Hello everyone. On behalf of OLG, I'd like to welcome you all to the 2022 Festivals and Events Ontario Energize Conference. My name is Michaela Bakonjic, Community Programs Manager at OLG. OLG has been a proud sponsor of FEO's conference for the past 10 years and are excited to be a part of today's event, celebrating the accomplishments of the festival and events industry in Ontario. Despite the challenges faced in the past 2 years, Ontario's festival and events industry organizers continue to persevere and make things happen in their communities one way or another, bringing people together in both traditional and untraditional ways. Congratulations to FEO for hosting another great conference for us all to enjoy. We appreciate all the time and effort that went into making this possible. Lastly, I want to thank you all again for being here to participate in this conference, learning, celebrating, and progressing the festivals and events industry in Ontario and making Ontario a better place to live.